Hi, everybody. 1,188 days today since Richard. Oops, got to turn that off. It's been busy. It's been busy. 1,188 days since Richard vanished from the barracks there at Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. And he didn't just vanish. He was retaliated for being a whistleblower and code redded. Now, today, let me see if I can get on to Facebook. I want to just really make clear that what I'm saying is not my words. It is evidence. It is evidence from others. And I want to start off about the character of Richard. It is not my words, not my decision to make Richard the Distinguished Honor Graduate for his cycle in basic training and also for AIT, for advanced individual training. Okay, 2 of them right in a row. To do Combat Lifesaver. It is not my words. That was the Army. That was the Army saying, this is an outstanding young man. He is distinguished. He is number 1 in his cycle in basic training and advanced individual training. This is a soldier, a character that we need to esteem, that we need to look up to, that needs a reward, that we need to give extra $500 to because we need more like him. That is the Army saying that. That was not me. Okay? Another thing, make sure I'm on Facebook, make sure I'm on live. There I am. Okay. So it was not me that said, if you asked anything of Richard, he would do it without complaint. If you would give him a shovel and say, dig this foxhole, this deep, this wide, this long, he would do it without complaint. That was not me. Okay? That was Jay Paulin. That was the first sergeant. Okay? It was not me that said, we scrutinized Richard in everything that he did, and we found nothing. We found nothing. That was not me. That was the West Pointer, Captain Park. Okay? That was him. It was not me that said on July 9th, 2020, we have looked at this false allegation that took place in January of 2020, January 27th, 2020, and it is a nothing burger. It is nothing. There is nothing there. There is no evidence that he was drunk, DUI, nothing. This case is going to be dismissed. This is nothing. The canine cop that was sent and did not, apparently he didn't turn on his lights. He didn't film anything. Nothing. There's no proof there. That was not me. That was our law enforcement. That was our courts that said we have to dismiss this. It is nothing. Okay? This young soldier, this young Distinguished Honor Graduate, this young soldier that if you asked him to do anything, that he would do it without complaint. This scrutinized soldier has nothing, has a clean record. Okay, that's not me saying that. That is the Army, his unit, and El Paso law enforcement, and the lawyers that are involved in all of that. This is also, it's not me that says Richard has no record at all in the federal crimes database. That he's never, in that database, he's never been in there. Okay, now that, that really shocked us, because the Army told us that they designated Richard a deserter. That's what they said to us the moment my husband called Captain Yoshida. And Yoshida was shaking. He was in tears. I don't know what they've done to him. I don't know what they have done to our military. But they lied, because Richard has never been in the federal criminal database. And therefore, and that's not me, that's the federal criminal database in black and white, letting us know that they have no record of Richard ever being in their database. This is hard evidence. It is not me that made Interpol flag Richard a yellow Interpol. If he was wanted for anything, he would be a red Interpol. He would be flagged red, wanted. If it was for any kind of violation, be it not showing up for court, because they didn't even tell us that on July 9th, 2020, shortly before he was murdered, that the allegations against him in that arrest, that was a staged arrest, they would get in trouble for that. Okay, and then what followed, and I'm going to address that was already agreed upon to be dismissed. And I don't know who they talked to or what, but of course the dismissal did come. But why didn't they tell us the agreement for that dismissal was days before he was murdered? Right? Days before, just a couple days before, he went and bought a pistol legally. We went to the shop. We have his receipt. We have the registration number for that weapon, because he feared for his life. That's not me saying that. That is the timeline of hard evidence saying that. Here he is. And I didn't say that Richard called the CPS, that he called the CPS more than one time. That was Belen Rocha. Those are Belen Rocha's words. Okay? I didn't say that the IG were all over the barracks because of Halliday. That was soldiers that we met that gave us that witness testimony. I did not say that Dallas Hart was Richard's platoon leader. That was eyewitnesses that came to us that told us Dallas Hart was Richard's platoon leader. Absolutely. We didn't even know who Dallas Hart was. So that is hard evidence that we have. We of his character, of that he's a whistleblower. He's a whistleblower because of things going on in the barracks. It wasn't even me that said that Richard had turned in sex tapes, quote unquote, right? That he had that evidence and he turned it in. That was Belen Rocha that told us that information. So, that's who needs to come out and speak up is, and let's talk about Leilani Hart. It's not me that is saying that she's mentally ill, that she's some kind of crazy criminal. It's not me that's saying she's a crazy criminal. It's Hawaii that's saying she's a crazy criminal. It's a judge that says she needs mental evaluation. She's a crazy criminal, right? I mean, the judge didn't call her crazy criminal, but she needs mental evaluation because she's not mentally stable. That's not me. That's a judge in Hawaii. But also, I didn't say that. James Hart said that too. James Hart said that to me. Dallas Hart said that to me. James Hart said that he even ordered, right? He even ordered a mental evaluation, a psychologist to come into his divorce with Leilani, claiming she's not mentally stable. And I'm not the one that put a restraining order on her. Those were victims in Hawaii that put a restraining order. And then she got arrested because she broke the restraining order. That I didn't arrest her. That's the law enforcement there in Hawaii. I did not claim that she assaulted a person. That was a victim. And all these victims' names are going to come out sooner or later. But, it's one victim after the other. And one person after the other saying she's really a crazy criminal. And she is the mother of Richard's platoon leader, Dallas Hart. Now, did Richard have other platoon leaders? Maybe, yes. Did Dallas Hart get shuffled around, moved? Is that a possibility? Yes. But was he Richard's platoon leader? It's not me saying that. It's witness testimony saying that. Okay? So, and the silence of open records requests and you would think that the unit would say, oh no, and produce the platoon leader, but they didn't. Okay? The silence is deafening. The silence is consent, right? Because they would be legally liable for lying to us when we have evidence that he was Richard's platoon leader. It wasn't me that posted that picture up of the Mercedes. That was Richard. That's Richard's silhouette on that pearl C-Class Mercedes. And I can go on and on and on. And they have, let's talk about the archives. All this talk about Richard being put out of the Army. Well, the archives totally scrubbed his entire file of any chaptering and also the field grade Article 15, which is a really big deal because that was a brutal waterless waterboarding field grade Article 15. Why would they scrub that from Richard's file? So any claims against Richard's character at this time, any 3 years they've had to more than just their lip service, right? More than just their keyboard warriors going on there trying to direct narrative. While we have been working diligently with boots on the ground and going through all the evidence, talking to everybody, right? Anybody that would talk to us, and getting evidence through the institutional support that we're getting now and through other victims and through soldiers. Look at the soldier that has asked for a congressional inquiry right now on Fort Bliss, the active duty soldier. Huge. Absolutely huge. And we have some new information about that is giving us some more evidence. And that is that Veronica Escobar is moving forward. We have confirmation that Veronica Escobar is moving forward, that this soldier, thank you so much for putting a hedge around him. Anybody that has signed that petition, thank you so much, because he is at risk, because any whistleblower right now is at risk. And we need a lot of whistleblowers. That would make him safer, is if we had more and more and more courageous soldiers like him, courageous service members like him, that we could support to strengthen, believe it or not, to get rid of these crazy criminals, right? These crazy criminals, because don't forget, Leilani Hart was in the Army when she was in Hawaii. She was active duty. She was active duty at Fort Bliss while she's a crazy criminal. Okay? Don't forget that. And then she got out. She's 100% disabled for what? Let me take a guess. Is it for a mental illness? Mental stress? Whatever? I mean, she shouldn't be ashamed of it. That kind of situation in the military, we all understand the stress that our soldiers are under. But it doesn't change the fact that she got out. We know for sure she's 100% disabled. And, for what? So, and I'll try to connect all these dots here. Because this thing with the divorce, right? With James Hart asking for a mental evaluation for his wife. They are still married. To bring in a psychiatrist. That's so out of my interest. But I need to get interested because it's a big deal in this case. Because we have Leilani Hart, who I didn't know her. I mean, I bet you some of the people in that gang are saying, if only she would have kept her mouth shut, they could have got away with the murder, right? Maybe some of them are saying that. But because we know who she is, because she was talking, because others were talking, because she put in that very panicky on the 22nd of July 2020 notarized criminal complaint confession that really implicated her to not report that her friends' children were put into extreme danger, and the oldest child was sexually assaulted. I'm talking about in her master bedroom by multiple members of her family, right? And they are running something called Heart Daycare. Heart childcare. Yet, she has a history because she's saying her husband in this CID accepted, FBI accepted, the FBI, we have the case number. The FBI thought there was enough teeth. Thank you. This is really important. Enough teeth, we're burning the midnight oil. Enough teeth in this case that they accepted it and gave it a case number. And in those allegations that are not my allegations, these are Leilani Hart's allegations. She is saying that her husband is a pedophile, that her husband is engaged in incest, that her husband is engaged in child pornography, that her husband, is buying weapons illegally and threatening to use those weapons against her to kill her. That's what she's saying. That she is being threatened, that her immigration status is being threatened, and that's why she keeps quiet. And this is years. I would say, decades. At this point, decades of this kind of insane, chaotic behavior in the Hart family, and they are running Hart Childcare. Hart Childcare. And there are these rumors that there is no evidence that Dallas Hart has anything to do with Richard's case. That is not true. We have enough evidence for a jury to convict him in our son's case. And this weekend, I was going through the Natalie Holloway's case, and where she was, the mother of Natalie in Aruba was absolutely all the investigation that she was doing. And you have to understand, Joran's father, I believe, we were told his father was is a judge. And then she was saying that the mother was some sex groomer for her son, allowing him to be violent, to allow him to be sexually and violent. That's what, the talk is. That's not me saying it. Allegedly, there's some problems there. And 18 years, he ends up murdering another woman. And finally, the Holloway family gets justice. Bittersweet justice. But in that meantime, she's paying him for information. She knows he got arrested like twice in this, but all the evidence led to Joran, right? So you know, crime seems to just, there's nothing new under the sun. You know, evil does as evil does, right? Evil is as evil does. It's just repeats, repeats, repeats. The deception, the violence, the trying to control the narrative, try to use the institutions to protect you so that you won't be held accountable, um, tampering with evidence, hiding evidence, manipulating evidence. You know, same old story over and over and over and over again. And Richard's case is no different. It is the trying to demonize Richard, trying to smear Richard so that the eyes are off the real demons, the eyes are off the real murderers, the eyes are off the real criminals. And this story, the law enforcement are sick and tired of Leilani Hart. They've had to cover for her, I guess, one too many times. Or, finally the structure. I don't know. All I know is that just recently in May of 2023, and I'm very, very grateful, thank you so much, they told her to pound sand. Get out of here. Pound sand. Because she had an accusation against her that she assaulted somebody. I know who it was. You can go look it up. So not only does she have this history of assault, harassment, lying to law enforcement, needing mental counseling, needing mental evaluation, breaking restraining orders, domestic disputes, domestic disturbance. I mean, it goes on and on and on. A failure to report that your friend's child was in your master bedroom by multiple members of your household. I mean, on and on and on this goes. And the Kocherga, Miss Angela Kocherga from Cato, and Bob Moore from El Paso Matters do not do their due diligence, or were they collaborating? Were they co-conspirators with Leilani Hart in this attempt? It's really, they did it. They obstructed justice. They intentionally, I should say they were intentionally malicious, which is intentional malice. But they were intentionally malicious to try to harm a key witness in order to obstruct anybody going anywhere and finding out where the missing soldier is and what happened to the missing soldier, and to uncover the murderers. And she used Leilani, the mother of Richard's platoon leader, Dallas Hart. Okay, and that's not me saying that Dallas Hart was Richard's platoon leader. That is our witnesses. Okay? Documented witnesses on record saying that Dallas Hart was Richard's platoon leader. Okay? And that Richard got 3 AAMs in 14 months, okay? Army Achievement Medals, and a combat lifesaver. That's not me saying that. That's the Army. So he's a whistleblower. He is an aspiring, successful distinguished soldier. That's not me saying it, that's the Army. And achieving, you can tell him to do anything and he will do it without complaint. That's his unit. That's his unit first sergeant saying that. Okay? So, absolutely a whistleblower, no record, no sign of any chaptering 14, no sign of a field grade Article 15. Except for he should have more rank. There should have been transparency in them rescinding that field grade Article 15, because that's what it looks like they did. They rescinded it without honoring him and giving him back what he had worked very hard to achieve. So I come on here to just say the information that we are getting. Do we have confirmation that there is a dirty agent? Yes. We have it in black and white that Special Agent Marlon Soto, who was in charge of the CID office there on Fort Bliss, in charge of our son's case, is a dirty agent, meaning tampering, manipulating, lying, misrepresenting, withholding information, and on and on and on. He's a dirty agent. So we've got a crazy, convicted criminal, Leilani Hart, who's the mother of the prime suspect, the platoon leader of Richard Halliday, and a CID dirty agent in this case. And they are connected because Leilani Hart, and this is not me, this is a key witness, this is James Hart saying, oh yeah, I would believe it. Tavita Nusa? Yeah, she's having an affair with Tavita Nusa. This is witness testimony by not one person, but more, that she's having an affair with Tavita Nusa, special agent in the Fort Bliss CID under dirty agent CID special agent in charge Marlon Soto. And Richard, this is information coming in from us. This is not me saying it. We have put in an open records request. We've been putting in the FERPA exception, emergency exception request to get Richard's academic records. This is witness testimony, right? Because of Danae Katzen, because of Tanya Katzen, because of Richard aspiring to be in law enforcement, that Richard was wanting to be a CID agent. We have that, his request on a pathway to become a CID agent. Okay? That's not me. That is documented. That's me talking to Marlon about this document that Richard wanted to be a CID agent and had put in for that. And him saying, oh yeah, this is the testimony of Marlon Soto. Okay? The dirty agent. He didn't offer that information. We had that information and we had to confront him with that. And he had to admit it because we have the evidence. So Richard absolutely was in contact with the CID there on Fort Bliss because that's what he wanted to do. And we know for sure that he was taking classes. And we have information that has come into us that said he's a CID intern. And we have contacted Anna Whitehead and district director for Park University, right? And we've contacted President Shane Smead, who is the president there in Missouri for Park University, the historical university. And we still are awaiting, even though this is, let's just assume, silence means consent. Silence means, oh, yeah, okay. So I'm going to go with the information coming into us that Richard was an intern in the CID. Okay? Because that information is more reliable than those that just want to manipulate the narrative and claim that Richard is some kind of wannabe Al Capone, when there's no evidence of that at all. But there's plenty of evidence of foul play. And that leads us to certain areas, on the Fort Bliss footprint, and then also into Mexico. Was it me? It wasn't me that said they were looking for Richard's remains in Mexico. That was the State Department in Juarez. That was the PAO, Lieutenant Colonel Allie Payne, speaking for Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe. It wasn't me that said they were looking for Richard's remains on Fort Bliss. It was a phone call. Did you know that they're looking for Richard, meaning his remains, at the Afghanistan, like he's alive hiding in the Afghanistan mock village in the middle of the desert? No, they're looking for Richard, meaning his remains, in the mock Afghanistan village during Christmas, right after we had left. Did you know that Sean Bernabe, that General Bernabe, was doing that? And then us speaking with Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe and him confirming, and through his PAO confirming, Richard's dead. They knew he was dead. They knew that his remains were in different locations, because it wasn't me who said that the FBI were looking for Richard's parts in 5 different locations. That was Nadal Baim's testimony to the cashier in the Dollar General that we videotaped. We got the CCTV footage. He turns out to be the father-in-law of Lieutenant Colonel Bradford Bugado in the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM. All right. It wasn't me that put Leilani Hart in this case. She inserted herself into this case. She's the one that said that Richard was code-redded. It was Thomas Kane that that said that the Fort Bliss law enforcement, that Fort Bliss commander was working outside of the law. That wasn't me. So something is very, very wrong on Fort Bliss. And it wasn't me who said that these suicided soldiers have questionable cases, and many think that they were murdered. And it wasn't me who said that they thought that Richard was suicided. That was the PI that was up to no good, right? Up to no good, who was like, oh, Danae, I love Danae. I have this love affair with Danae. She's so cool. He didn't say those words exactly, but that was like his song. Oh, Danae, Danae, I love you. And here she is, a criminal and a fraud. And it wasn't me that put her on the 10 most wanted list for, the El Paso sheriffs and, for fugitive, the most wanted fugitive. That was her own doing. That was the law enforcement there in El Paso. And the PI, the seasoned interrogator PI, is, oh, she's so sweet. She's so nice. I mean, what is that? What is that? And he didn't. I over-exaggerated that right now. He's like, she has it all together. Whatever. I don't know. You can read the whole testimony. We have it. And it is just, ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. He's not as kind to Belen. Belen's been, she's been played. She's been totally played in all of this. Since she was a little girl. Because, for some reason, and I'm going to go back to this Heart Childcare, 85,000 unaccounted for minors at right there on Fort Bliss, the emergency intake center, and this wasn't the only one, right? Where are they? Why are they doing this emergency childcare and letting anybody, like a convicted criminal, crazy criminal, have a heart childcare with, accusations that her multiple members of her household, her friends' children that were in the care of her family. What? So the evidence, and we have so much more, but of course, we're not at liberty to say everything. We do know that Richard bought a PS4 with some games from a fellow soldier in the barracks in 2018 when he arrived, right? That's interesting. So where is it? Where is his PS4, right? His PlayStation. Where is it? Because that would have all kinds of stuff on it. And whoever he was communicating with. So not only do we have, evidence coming from every direction in this, and everything is so important. Like, where is his phone? Where is his PS4? Where are his things? And going over to the border, this kilometer 29, right? This kilometer 29 into 30, this area with these tactical move storage units, Connexes out there, right? Pictures of the Connexes, information coming out that there were Connexes out there in Mexico, in this area. Now, that's not just Delirious. That's others. That's others. And this property and the owner of the property. It's kind of like, jaw dropping when you talk about 3705 Bliss Avenue, 3905 Bliss Avenue, two addresses. And then all of a sudden, you have the connection of Tanya Katzen being the mother of Danae Katzen, who was sent to change the narrative, right? They don't want you to have the truth. They want to manipulate the narrative. Why? Because they have skin in the game. They have skin in the game. That's the only explanation. And there's plenty of ways to have skin in this game. Because we know that they are messing with kids. We have 85,000 unaccounted for minors. We have Dallas Hart rushing over to his mom's when he gets back from deployment, looking for the child porn. We have accusations from Leilani Hart that they're into child porn and even producing it and selling it to soldiers. Also, manipulating soldiers there at the VA, using people's social security number to get loans and all that, raise up their oh, it left me, but so that they can get loans, so that they can get cards or whatever. How we know about the arrests for the weapon smuggling. We know. We know about the barracks being the marketplace for narcotics trafficking. We know that it was such a norm that they brought in the young girls during the COVID lockdown to party with the lonely soldiers, putting them in danger in all kinds of ways because the barracks were flush with weapons. We know that. That was not me. That was from Brigadier General David Stewart. He told us that. And it was Command Sergeant Major Jerry Jakovitz, who sits there in the VA in Fort Bliss, that told us they brought in the girls during the COVID lockdown, okay, to party in these barracks that were flush with weapons and marketplaces for illegal drugs and a rape problem and a sexual harassment problem. And yet Richard was denied to come in June of 2020, May and June, for his brother's wedding. To be best man. And we were live streaming to him during the whole wedding. We were live streaming. So all this talk that they have done And we received confirmation today from General Eisenhower. All the evidence is starting to shake things and move things. And they need to be moved. They need to be shaken. And so we're very grateful for that. And I think a big part of that is not only the work that we're doing behind the scenes with all of the evidence gathering, okay? But I want to make this very, very clear. I have to come on every day. I have to come on every day. It is so important to repeat what is going on, what we're finding out, to make Team Find Richard Halliday available for comments for those soldiers that know something, that can make a comment, that can look at the screen and see the 941-677-0060 number, to know, to put the pieces together. It's, you can't just look at this case and understand what's going on when there's so much confusion made by other people. I can tell you we have hard facts, and the hard facts is that Leilani Hart inserted herself in this case. She inserted herself, and she is deemed a crazy criminal. That is a short way of saying everything we have heard from victims. We have talked to her victims. And you know what they say? Crazy. Crazy. This lady's crazy. She's crazy. And she's also a criminal. That's not me saying she's crazy. That's her victims. And her husband, in the divorce proceedings, to say, my wife, there's something wrong with her mentally. We need a mental evaluation. And we have Miss Kocherga co-conspiring with her to destroy, key witness, and obstruct the justice in our son's case with intentional malice. And she is an award-winning journalist for KTEP, for other publications, and teaches at UTEP. You want her to teach at UTEP? You want her to give you information through the public radio system that we pay for? Taxpayers pay for that. And then, El Paso Matters just chimed right in with her. That makes them liable. And that makes them subject to open records, to an open records request. So we're learning all of this stuff because we have been made the chief investigators of our son's case. And we don't have to wonder now how that happened. We understand that now because Marlon Soto is a dirty agent. And they were working outside of the law, according to DES Chief of Security of El Paso, Thomas Kane. And all for all of these different crimes, weapon smuggling, child pornography, pedophilia, narcotics trafficking, right? There's so many crimes. Child health, heart, child care. Can you imagine this family having child care, heart child care? When there's allegations of incest even with an active duty soldier that is not just any soldier, that he is an officer, and that how did he go green to gold? How did he go green to gold? Because we're getting information out of New Mexico. How did that happen? What are the connections? Was there bribes and payoffs? And then there's kilometer 29 property with tactical move storage units. And let's not think about the Sound of Freedom, right? Where they put the children in the tactical move storage units to ship them different places. Let's not think about that. I mean, I tend to think of the weapon smuggling, and now we're on alert. We're on alert through the government has put us on alert. Seems like we're going to war. They're going to throw us into war with Iran. They want to throw us into war with Russia. And all the while, China will come and go into Taiwan, have their operatives come into our country. We're going to not be here because we're going to be deployed. And those that we have are, we're so short, and we've been so demoralized, and we've been mentally hindered. We've been physically hindered. This seems like, to me, and I do like to read history. And if right behind me is Theodora, Byzantium. You cannot read Theodora and Justinian without reading about their general, Belisarius, without reading about their war strategies, how they protected Constantinople, how they protected the boundaries of the longest lasting empire in the history of that we know of, right? 1,200 years, I believe, Byzantium lasted. And when you read about the strategies, to protect, because they also had to protect their borders. When you read about Malta, the Great Siege of Malta, you can't put that book down. Malta is a star fort. It is one big star fort in the middle of the Mediterranean. And the sieges, St. Elmo's fire, the sieges, the Knights of St. John, the Hospitallers, the Knights of Malta. And I'm just seeing the strategy that is really a brilliant strategy, but we're on the short end of the stick here. They're going to put us into war. They've been smuggling our weapons out. They've been allowing all kinds of evil nonsense on our military installations to, create a fearful, retaliated against service members, not really able to aspire to what they really can become. Force them to take untested Cobra strikes, now weakening our Air Force, weakening our entire military, weakening our entire country, because we are allowed to carry guns in this country, right, and defend ourselves. But if we're sick and weak, that's not good. And now they're going to rush all of our equipment out of our country with open borders here and try to fight the likes of Iran, who has been waiting for this day, training for this day, and Russia with, on that front, two wars at the same time. Oh, we can do it. We can do it. We can't even do Afghanistan. We haven't won a war in decades. And we didn't win World War II either. We didn't win it. No way. Because you know them by their fruit. You know them by their fruit. I don't believe it. I think many, many good men were murdered in that war. Many. And many ancient, fantastic, beautiful cities were bombed to smithereens to cover something up. I think it was a spiritual war. And I'm going to tell you a little story here. Because this all has to do with Richard. Not buying the narrative. Because as you know, I've gone to South Korea many times. And when I go, I normally stay. In the past, I would stay at the military hotel right there in Seoul, Korea. Right there. Beautiful, beautiful hotel. Military. And you meet all kinds of interesting people. And I met a man who we were talking about the history of Korea. I love history. And if the North, when I was last there, because, it was pre-COVID when I was last there, Trump had gone to the DMZ, demilitarized zone there, that my dad was stationed at. My dad, even in one of the pictures I just put up, he had his DMZ t-shirt on. He went not too long ago, a few years back, and even spoke at a reunion because he was pretty young when he was there. And Trump, he went into North Korea. He stepped over and, it was just amazing. It was such amazing. So this was a topic when I was there. And we were discussing if it was ever possible for North Korea and South Korea to be reunited, like Germany, the Eastern Germany and Western Germany being reunited, if that was possible, if that could happen. And he started telling me about the history of North Korea. And he said North Korea, what you have to understand, was the Christian stronghold of Korea. And I went, really? And he goes, oh yeah. That's where all the Christian missionaries were most successful, in North Korea. And he, it's a long story, but I just want to put that out because I know from Western and Eastern Germany that Eastern Germany was with Bavaria, and Baden-Württemberg were the huge Christian stronghold, because Saxon was the big stronghold, which was then created to be in the eastern zone of Germany, where they banned being Christian. Okay, it was like, not so much banned, but oh, you're going to have this and this holiday. Well, we have our state parade that, and you have to come. So they sabotage Christianity in the communist countries. that was this what I learned from friends there in Dresden, and from the girls going to the German school and talking with all of them about history. There's also, people don't know this, but the strongholds for Christianity on Japan were Nagasaki and Hiroshima. And they're the ones that got bombed. So and I can go on and on and on about how I think that World War II was something very different than what we've been told. And it is really strange because I had some text messages today from boots on the ground there in El Paso, and pictures of my grandfather with his 8 brothers were a topic of discussion. Oh, these old pictures, why do you have these on Find Richard Halliday? I said, that's my grandfather with his 8 brothers. He fell during World War II. And the comment was, well, thank him for his service. Thank him for. I said, well, 7 of the 9 brothers fell in World War II. 7 of the 9. Oh, that was so what kind of service is that? That's just amazing. No, my grandfather and his brothers were German. Okay? They were German. They were sharecroppers. That's what they were. They were sharecroppers, and at the end of the war, it didn't matter who you were. Hitler sent you to the Russian front. It didn't matter. You had no choice. And my grandfather died and was buried in a mass grave in Russia. The narrative is, it's something that needs to be scrutinized. We're being lied to all the time. And I want to make sure that everyone knows that from the very minute we found out that Richard was missing, our attempt, and we're human, has been to find the truth and to give everyone the truth. Now, is Leilani Hart a crazy criminal? I don't know. I haven't read her evaluations. I know that those claims are out there from her family, from her victims, from the judge, from law enforcement, and they just told her to pound sand because they can't trust her. And yet, Angela Kachurga co-conspires with her for the media. She has some kind of strings to pull, and it has to be this defense attorney. Okay? And we're working on that, and we'll let you know very soon about this defense attorney, because this defense attorney is what connects Richard's case with a much larger case. And, I think that is, the jury will decide if Dallas Hart committed foul play in Richard's case. A jury will decide. We feel like we have enough to convict him, but a jury will decide. Okay. Will there be knocks on the door for other people? We hope, because the incredible evil in this case, the false narrative. And I'm looking at my beautiful sun right here. Let's see if I should put this on. Yeah. This is a great picture. Great picture. This is in Ireland. This is at a Trace Diaz event, not it's before he went to GCS, before he joined the army, but he was still. This was a Christian weekend with our good friends. I used to. This is I don't know if I should mention his name. His name is Ezra. I used to teach him. Look how tall he is. I used to teach him when he was a little boy. Um, yeah, a very, very, very dear friend, his mother. Anyway, of course, this is my mother and Richard years ago. Here's Richard being visited at GCS. Here's Richard. This is, of course, this is in Korea with, of course, my daughter, my grandson. This, this, okay, so the peace sign is covering up Richard's face. But of course, this is for Hannah's wedding and James's wedding.
Trump would have won 11 of
Okay.
those 13.
So, that was, I put that up to this video. So if you guys want to watch, when I get sent, very interesting. This one, millions of kids are sold to VIPs. I put that up. If you don't want to believe me, it's not me saying that. It is very suspicious, and we need to know where 85,000 unaccounted for minors are. And how do you let that just slide, right? How do you let that go unanswered? I don't understand how our representative, and I don't think our representatives are letting that go unanswered. I don't know. I hope not. So that is really, let's see if I have any other breaking news. Veronica Escobar. I wanted to really talk about that because she is responding to this congressional inquiry from this active duty soldier on Fort Bliss. And this is the breaking news. He has information about Richard. He has information about Richard. This is a huge lead. And I didn't want to say things too soon, but if you have not signed that petition to protect him, because one thing they do not want out is Richard's case. They have spent millions of dollars trying to cover this case up. It just opens up a can of worms. And of what is going on at Fort Bliss in El Paso, criminal group there. And so really sign the petition. If you've signed the petition, thank you so much. God bless you so much, because we need to circle our wagons around this soldier. We need to put a hedge around him. A hedge of angels need to be praying over him all the time. And if you've signed it, please do more. Please ask others to sign it also. And campaign for it. Share it. It's really something that everyone can get behind. And it's kind of like this search that this research, this review, the review of Kilometer 29. Anybody, that's anybody in investigation, you have to go back and re-look at things, right? Because you get new information. the whole thing with the connexes, with the tactical move storage units, call them what you will. All of that information and the ownership of the property there, we have new information and we need to go back and review it. And anybody that wants to get to the truth would think that's okay. That's normal. How many times did Natalie Holloway's mother go to Aruba to review what happened to her daughter? Right? How many times? So, that's what we want to do, is review, look again and again at different things, because with new information, things that you have known and seen before have a different take now, and that's brought to your attention again in a different way. And now we know, we have confirmation that Danae and Belen absolutely know each other, that they're family, and they absolutely know each other. Absolutely know each other. No doubt in our mind that they know each other and that they have connections to 3705 to 3905 Bliss Avenue. Those two properties have also some interesting connections. And, the Van Buren house, the connections with that, these LLCs that they tried to bury, because this is also about money laundering. This is so criminal in so many ways, right? And so, of course, with the LDS connection, being able to have passes to go over to Mexico, even during the COVID, that's also interesting. All of that needs to be revisited, and that should be okay for anybody that wants to find Richard, right? Especially if you think Richard somehow wound up over there, then we need to go back over there. We need to campaign his name out there, right? It's very important. And, everyone should be okay with it. And the same thing with this soldier that, is worried about these suicides not being really suicides, that's worried about during a COVID lockdown, the girls getting passes by Thomas Kane to come in there, arranged by Command Sergeant Major Jerry Jakovitz and Major General Clem Coward to come in there and party hardy, while they deny Richard leave to go to his brother's wedding, right? And be the best man. That's just, wrap your head around that one. And, who's concerned about the 14-year-old girl living in the barracks being prostituted out, who has information on Richard's case and is concerned about the way the JAG has handled Richard's case, who's concerned about not being able to put in fraud, waste, and abuse with the JAG not responding. He has the right to have a congressional inquiry if he feels in danger, if he feels threatened, if he thinks that the security of Fort Bliss is threatened, especially at the edge of war. Now we're going to the edge of war where we're going to be so vulnerable at home because they're all going to be deployed with our equipment, with millions of people coming into the country that, and children unaccounted for. This seems like a very well thought out invasion, an attack on our country, and we have the short end of the stick. Yeah. So Veronica Escobar is pressing forward, is with the congressional. Thanks be to God. And I'm not the biggest fan of Veronica Escobar, but let me tell you, people can turn a new leaf. They can see the dangers. They can have an epiphany. And let's pray that she has had an epiphany, that she has turned over a new leaf, that she is moving forward and pursuing this congressional inquiry because she really does, doesn't want to see the destruction of Fort Bliss and El Paso. Let's just hope that is the case. Okay, February 2022. James Hart put in a request for a mental evaluation. I think that is huge. And the other thing is why is Dallas Hart's face? It seems to be his face is on our son's Interpol photo. Why is that? That's a big deal. That's a big deal. So with that, thank you so much. It was very late today because of so much information coming in. And I just really appreciate your patience with all of this. But, the ground is shaking. And we are absolutely exposing what happened to Richard, and that's what we want. We want to know what happened to him, where he's at, and we want accountability. And I think that everyone should be okay with that, and everyone should be okay with this congressional inquiry because the truth would come out. And so please sign that petition and campaign for that petition. It's really, 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 really important. Have I told you it's important? Because it is. It's really important that we put a hedge around our service members that are brave enough to come forward, and especially those that have information about Richard. And if you do have information, please call 941-677-0060. Thank you so much. God bless you. And I will be back tomorrow. God